Hi, I'm Kate with Nancy's Notions, and today I'd like to show you how to use the Trim and Set template to trim embroidered designs to be included into a project. What I have here are 3 different embroidered designs. The one, Ballerina, you'll see is used in the miniature art quilt featuring the Ballet Dreams. I love using the Trim and Set template because with an embroidered design that you've completed, you've spent a lot of work already stitching that out, selecting colors. You don't want anything to be cut wrong. So I always use the Trim and Set template to mark first and then cut. That way I know everything is going to be trimmed properly. The Trim and Set template is a large grid. It's broken down into 1/4 inch markings, alternating between dotted lines and solid lines. It works kind of the opposite from a ruler. You're always starting at the center and looking at your measurements going out to the outside of the template, both horizontally and vertically. So what I've done here, I have a very specific size block that I'm going to be cutting, and I've put glow line tape down right on top of the template, and it's a 1/4 inch wide, so that's perfect for the quilting seam allowance being a 1/4 inch. So I know where my stitching line will be on the inside of that glow line tape marking, and my cutting line will then be along the outside of that glow line tape marking. It makes it foolproof to mark and then cut your quilt block, which is embroidered, and you'll have no miscutting because you've measured and you can see exactly where your stitching line and your cutting lines are. So here I have my first embroidered design, a pair of dancing legs, and we are going to want this centered. So this is why I have a square block, and I can look at where the design lands underneath my grid, and this is very visual for me. I'm not a strong math person, so visuals are the most comfortable for me. So once I'm happy with the placement, I can see exactly where that stitching line is going to be, and I'm going to mark my cutting line. So I'm going to mark really inside the drill hole with a tiny cross mark along the outer edge of that glow line tape, and I can cut immediately. I don't have to double check this now because I know it's correct because I had laid out my glow line tape as a marker. So let's trim. One thing I have found very handy for trimming these smaller embroidered blocks is the spinning rotary mat, because I can use minimum of movement in between my cuts. So now I'm just going to lay my quilting ruler right over my markings. You can see they are just peeking out along the edge of the ruler, and now I'll simply cut across, and we're going to spin this. And this is where I can do just a real brief double check if I'm feeling at all nervous. I wanted this block to finish, or with the seam allowance included, 4.5 inches, and it indeed does measure 4.5 inches. So I'll cut the last 2 sides, and our block with the beautiful ballerina's feet is ready to be incorporated into a small art quilt. So now what you see here is the ballerina. She's very long, and you can see in the art quilt she is looking much better in a rectangular block instead of a square block. If there were a square block here, there would be a lot of white space and you would not see the ballerina as well because of all that white space. So let's use the Trim and Set template to actually cut the rectangle that we need. And you'll notice that I don't have the glow line tape placed on it because I'm actually going to use the embroidery design to determine the size of the block that I want. So I'm still going to center from side to side, and we want to give her just a little bit of space. So I'm going to add the tape just at that 3-inch mark because it does look nice and it looks good to me. So now I'm ready to mark. Now this will be a little bit different because we don't have a drill hole at the corners. So what you want to do is mark at the center, then go all the way across and mark at the next open drill hole. And the same on the opposite side. So I will have a much longer line that I'm going to connect. And I make sure that all my holes that I need are marked. And you can see all the markings here on the fabric. And now use the template edge as a ruler. The grid on the template helps you keep those lines nice and square, so you'll have a perfect rectangular shaped block when you're done. Here we have the ballerina block ready to be cut. We know that the seam allowance has been included, so we'll have no mishaps and it'll look beautiful in the finished art quilt. So be sure to use the trim and set template to cut either square blocks from your embroidery designs or rectangular blocks, which you can set into beautiful little art quilts. If you like this video, please hit the like button and be sure to leave us a comment. Thank you so much for watching.